Sound check. Oh, that worked. So, hooray. All right. So, I believe I might have done some work since our last stream. So let's look. When was the last stream? Probably the 4th. So I probably did that. Maybe I did that off stream. I'm not sure. But we'll do that. So what did I do? I added a whole big bunch of sample programs. These sample programs had been lying around in various places before, but I decided to formally add them. I should probably rename them from being .text. The other issue was here in parser.cpp, which I really should separate. I'm actually thinking of starting to use C++ modules here because, I want to. But here in parser.cpp, there was a section here. Let's look for a particular string here to find the offending code. There we go. In the simple evaluator in function declaration, I did not say that function declarations had a value, which, since everything in my language is in fact an expression that has a value, decided that function declarations should have a value too. Now, I could make the value the function that's being assigned, but for variable declarations, I make the value be 0. And so I decided that I'll do the same thing for function declarations. I might change that at some future point in time to make the value be the value that was assigned. But that's not what I'm doing now. Now it's 0. So variable and function declarations have a value of 0. That's fine. And then all the rest is just sample programs that I added. And one very embarrassing thing is that I had this program here where I was testing something, testing whether nested function calls work. And I had a parse error because I put int here before the x's. And my function doesn't have variable types yet. And not only that, but when I do add types, they're not going to look like C with the type in front of the variable name, the way C does things. Not that I don't like C, it's just that my language isn't C, and I want to do things in a way where variable declarations are the types involved in variable declarations are very clearly separated from the variables to reduce certain kinds of ambiguities in parsing. That's the whole thing. And so my variable declarations, if I ever add types, will look very different. And in fact, variables currently have types, but the only way you can declare a variable, which misnamed, it's a constant because you can't actually assign it afterwards. The only way you can name a variable that has a type other than unsigned integer is by declaring a function. And there you just declared a variable named f that has a type of function declaration with the value of the body of the function. And the value of this whole expression is 0. That's that. So anyway, but when I put int here, there are parse errors. And it's like, my parser is broken. I'm getting parse errors when I do this. Because, of course, I thought maybe the parse error had something to do with this. And I didn't go up here and look at this and realize that, oh, like an idiot, I'd put in int. It's my language. I wrote it. Every single piece of the grammar is like piece of the grammar that I had to write the parser for. You'd think I'd not put in int. No, I put in int. Anyway, so that's the changes that have been made. Now, I have a bunch of tests to write. And I'm going to see what about getting the AI to write some tests. I want a new file with a bunch of tests for function declarations and function calls. One thing I am going to do, though, good. I have not pushed these changes yet. So I am going to go into sample programs, and I'm going to rename this to what happens if I do this? I always get confused on this shell syntax. Maybe it's pound pound. Maybe it's dollars. Maybe it's percent. There we go. We'll call mine toiling, TYL. Let's see here. Maybe it's dash G for get. Yes, rename. Okay. So these are all renames. And if I do a commit dash dash amend without changing the message, and now they all look like they were always that name. So we'll see how well the AI does here at writing these tests. It certainly is a little aggressive about asking me about things. Like, I don't really care. I would presume that it thought that it would have read access to everything in here. But of course, it's using commands, and therefore, just because a command looks like it should read something doesn't mean that the AI got it right and that's what it's doing. And so that's not, I would prefer that the AI interact with the code that was there in a different way than running commands to look at the code. So, yeah. Okay, so it says that it's updated it to include a new test and func test. So it's added a new test called func test. Does this appear in the list of no? No. So I'm going to have to go into the project and open func test myself. Uh, and has to look at the sample input.tyl. That file should probably be renamed. It's a bad name. It should be called loop test.tyl or something like that. I don't know why it cared about what about plus plus. Like, that's just kind of weird. Oh, Well, that's very interesting that it felt the need to do that. Because it's true, actually, that sample input.tyl, if it contained plus plus, my language does not have a plus plus operator. Okay, so it says it's done it. Now let's look and find out. No, that does not need to be fixed because it's no longer true. But the one thing that does need to be happen is it needs to reload this from disk, and I should add it to Mercurial. There. So now it's a new file. Now if we look here, I should be able to see a diff here. And it will tell me that the only change is adding okay, so that's the diff I was looking for. This file is all new. Let's see if func_test looks the way I need it to look. I'm going to temporarily minimize this window and then resize these. So yes, that's a good test because it tests nested function calls. So it tests a function call that's executed as part of a function call. Yep. A recursive function. Yes. And so Fact 5 does the right thing. So this goes through all of the sample programs. And so in that sense, it is wrong. So let us pick this back up again. So the problem here is that it's made an error. This for loop here, it does actually, I'm impressed that it makes use of the new C++ 23, I think it's 23, standard file system namespace. And then, going through and getting a directory listing of the subdirectory here. That's pretty nifty. But it's not really what I'm looking for. I want it to not go through all of them. I want it to go through the specified list of files that currently exist, um, not all the files that happen to be there at the time the test runs. So you've made a mistake. For the sample programs, you've gone through all of them, not the set of existing ones. And you simply punt on only parsing and evaluating new ones that are added after this test is created. That's missing. I misspelled that. I don't think it'll matter, but I'll put it in there. That's missing one of my requirements. And I should put in the requirement that I be able to add new programs to this directory, actually. New programs may be designed to test other language functionality and shouldn't be read in the tests for just functions. Oh, all right. There. Target programs. Yay. Yep, there we go. Now I'm going to ask the AI, So it's made some updates here. Well, that's an interesting case that I should be handling better than I do, which is mutually recursive functions. And they don't work because the identifiers are looked up at parse time. And they have to be looked up at parse time because of slot requirements. So I need some way of handling this problem. But right now, it doesn't do that. Mutually recursive functions are not allowed. Self-recursive functions are allowed because functions are put into the list of identifiers before their bodies are parsed. So yeah. Let's check on the tests now to find out whether the tests are now a little bit better. So add a b, so that one's still there. Square, square, cube. Yep, that's good. Basically testing whether making a function call instead of a function instead of a function call, it works. And then self-recursion, like fact calling itself, test whether that works, which I already have a test for that in one of the sample programs. The recpow is a test of that. It's actually a lot better than the this one, but this one works. This is not terrible, and I don't mind having both of them. Function identifier used in an expression. This should fail. This one is interesting, and I don't know. This should fail. I don't know whether it does fail or not, but it should fail. And it should fail to parse. The parser should go, I looked at the type of your identifier and it's not a valid type for the plus expression. That's what should happen. I need to check to make sure that this is the right answer here. I think it might not be the right answer. I think it should require result equal null pointer. It should fail to parse. This should definitely fail to parse. Trying to assign to the function identifier after declaring the function should fail. Yeah. The current implementation should not allow overwriting. So this is a thing that I need to change. This test, in fact, has the wrong answer, and it needs to be fixed. It caught a case that I'm not handling. This should result in a parse failure. So let's try running this. See what happens. This should work. Should get 5 out of this, and this is the right answer. This is exactly what should happen. This should fail parsing. Well, that's very interesting. Oh, that's because it's not yeah. Let's try this and then doing this again. There we go. This works. Yep, running all the sample programs worked great. So in parser, what happens when there's a parse error? So let's look at one of these things where there's a parse error. What I'm pretty sure is a return null pointer, and there should be a number of places in which null pointer is being returned. Parse while. We look, is the keyword not while? Then we return null pointer. So we should be there's several cases in here which should be failing that are not failing. Oh, except it stopped. Okay, check remainder not equal to tokens end. Okay, so this basically says not all the tokens were parsed. So that's good. I apparently am not checking call arity at parse time, which I should be doing. So this should actually fail. Sadly, I can't check parse errors. This should be a parse error. It should catch the function arity not being correct at parse time. This should fail in exactly this way. Shouldn't allow redeclaration. This should also fail. That should work exactly the way it's supposed to work. Got that. This currently fails. It should not fail, but will this shouldn't fail. Well, no, actually it shouldn't fail. I need a way to handle mutually recursive functions. uh, this is a terrible way to determine evenness or oddness, and it's kind of confusing. This works. This should fail. Yep. That was a good test too. Nested function declaration should fail. Uh, I'm curious as to if the AI can figure out why I put in this restriction. Because there's a reason I did it. And I told all of you of the reason I did it when I was doing it. But I'm wondering whether the AI can figure it out. This is basically correct. Number two is incorrect. The simple stack model for scopes is in fact absolutely correct for parsing. Now there's also a simple stack model for execution that is totally fails to handle closures. Even if I wanted closures. There. I don't know why I like giving the model feedback It's just a model. I think what it is I kind of want the people who make the model to train it. So it successfully wrote a bunch of tests for me. Now, there is still a slight error here that I'm not going to have it, or not error, but there's still a slight problem. I don't like this else clause. Uh, it's clear that there's a set of functions, and the else clause should be an assert failure is what it should be. Um, so I'm going to change this because we do have a set, and the sample input.tyl is one of the things, and it should check. Is it the sample input.tyl? And then it should know what the result of evaluating sample input.tyl is and check it. It doesn't. Well, let's actually try and get it to fix. There we go. That fixes it. Now it's going to test its fix to make sure that its fix worked. Ah, see, I fix things and then it fix things and then blah, 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 blah. I might have to go back and fix them again to be correct. Well, that's a very human mistake for it to have made. It's kind of fascinating watching the AI's reasoning steps uh, go on. And all right. uh, it's having a really hard time trying to figure out how to get it to run the tests that I want. Oh, wow. It's making all kinds of changes that I didn't necessarily want it to make. How interesting. Yeah, I don't think this is how I want to handle this. Yeah, I'm going to roll back all the changes it's making to my code because I don't like what it did. Um, just typical when I have the AI work on code that's not test code. It's pretty awful. Um, okay. So all the tests pass. I am going to have to fix something because it has a space at the end of a line lots of times, and that's not acceptable. Also, too, I don't like the way it implemented the arity check, and I want to do it my own way. Um, so that will be, and it fixed one of my sample programs, and that's just fine. It's allowed to fix my sample program. So yes. And not see here, simple loop sample program. I'm gonna have to change this to, and also change this to simple loop. Now I am going to rerun all the tests. They should all succeed. And then I'm going to do some fancy footwork with the material to make my history look the way I want it to. And indeed, all the tests succeed. I looked through these tests. They look good. Yes. Parse should fail. It should fail because of arity mismatch, and it currently does not. So oh, actually, no. There we go. That's exactly what I wanted. All right. That's the change that I wanted here. Okay. Now we look at these changes. I'm going to save these away just as I don't agree with Junie's idea, but I am curious as to, I want to save it to examine it later. So let's update to 134. And then let's run all the tests again. We should have a failure this time. So, yep, there's some failures now. All right. I need to have better error handling, and then I should update the test to check the better error handling. But that's neither here nor there. I'm now faced with a situation in which I have some non-working code because I didn't check something. Now I am going to fix the arity problem myself. Um, and so when I'm doing a parse, not of a function declaration, but a parse of a function call, I should check. Um, oh, silly. Not handling focus follows mouse. It's very annoying. So we don't care where start is anymore, but what we do care about and not var info. So up here, we did do a lookup of the function identifier, parse identifier. So what currently is in the identifier? We get an identifier. So when we do parse identifier, we get so yes. Then we get func name is an identifier. So we know that we have an identifier. So that's good. And we know what scope it's from. It's variable index. Aha. Okay. I am not storing the arity. Oh, that's amusing. Because of course the statement list only knows how many variables are total in the scope. It doesn't know the number of of those variables that are in fact coming from the function parameters. It doesn't know that. It only knows the total number of variables. So I can't look at that. Because if I looked at the var index, like, so what is at the var index, right? What is stored in the actual stack frame? So we look here at our, for the simple evaluator, what's in the stack frame, right? Oh, except at parse time, I don't even have this stack frame. So I don't know but what do I know about the identifier at? So I did make some change to identifier to basically have it be something a little more sophisticated. So func declaration, func call, var decal, identifier. Okay, it's a vector of var infos, var declarations. So it knows its type. Oh. um, oh my. So it belongs in the var info. I think that the thing did it correctly here, but I want to do it myself. So the arity belongs in the var info because it's information about the type, really. But it's not always relevant. And that's it. Yeah, this is the wrong way of handling this. So it is kind of a variant type and kind of not. What variable info really should be ultimately is there should be some kind of reference to the variable declaration to a type. And I should have a set of types that's pre-existing that can be referenced that are the built-in types. But I don't. So yeah, this person, they can go fly a kite. And on Twitch, we are going to exercise our moderator privileges here. To do something. If I can figure out how. There. Report the person for there. There. It is gone. All right. But I don't have that right now. And so what I'm going to have to do here is something that's kind of ugly. I am going to have a yes. Yep. That's exactly what I'm going to have. It's pretty darn ugly, but that's what I'm going to have. And then here, I'm going to have to check and var info now does have an arity. It's taking it a little while, and it does have a name. Let's have all this stuff. All right. Hi there. Every time you show up, you like disappear shortly after you show up. And what's up? Things are going okay. I'm getting an AI to write a bunch of tests for me. And then it tried to fix a bug for me, and it fixed it in a way that I was not necessarily happy with. But, uh, well, it turns out that I'm probably going to end up doing approximately what it did anyway, because there's a little design hiccup here involving types. Because function types, part of their type is the number of arguments to the function. Ah, okay, that makes sense. I got, but my variable info here treats the type as an enum, but that's overly simplistic. It should, in fact, have a reference to some type information. But that's a little more sophisticated than my parser can currently handle. And I don't want to have to add all of that right now. It's probably something that I'll add if I add aggregate types, but I won't be adding aggregate types anytime soon. Or, well, I might be adding them soon, but I don't want to prematurely fix this thing for them yet. So what I'm going to do instead is just shoehorn this arity thing that's only relevant if the enum happens to say it's a function, which is ugly. But there you go. Um, And then I'm going to have to do something to set it up when I actually parse the function declaration. Let's see here. Where's the var info? Oh, bother. So I'm going to have a special, going to have to change context here to have declare var and declare type, or declare. Oh, yeah, I should get rid of these. I don't use them anymore. Declare var. Yep, the parse context. This is where I need to put it. What I'm going to do here and then yep. Yep. That's what it's going to be. And actually, these probably all fit on one line. Just like that. Yep. All fit on one line. 71. So yeah, solving this bug is annoying. It introduces some weird, so I'm going to have to go through and look for calls to declare var. And that's correct. And this is not correct. Oh my. Do I know the arity of the function by now? Yes, I do. Or have I been storing up the argument list? Uh, yep, that's where I want it. That's where it belongs. There we go. And that's how that works. Okay. All right. So now let's see here. Let's see if this builds. Well, let's just run all the tests and see what happens. Well, yeah, but I should have a var info because I look up the identifier. First, I look it up to make sure that it's a function, right? Oh, there we go. And actually, we're going to make this constant as well because I don't modify these things. I'm just squirreling away a reference for future use. All right, now let's try building it. Oh, there's an assertion failure. Maybe I need to not be Yeah, I'm relying on too many assumptions about things not moving around, and I should stop doing that. So I can't do this. But I can do that. That line is now very definitely too long. $98. It's not blockstack.pack anyway. No. Parse identifier. And what does identifier hold again? Identifier should contain some kind of reference to. Yeah, and there should be yeah. No, no, no. Right. Right. But context very definitely. Oh. Oh. Yes. This is this identifier. And this is not what we were looking for, right? This is and it's an identifier. So what's in an identifier? And then here, statement list. Dot var declarations. Yeah. And this, in fact, will work. Oh, there. That works. Ah, that's right. And what does a func call look like? It's got the there. There. Much better. And is this guaranteed to work? Um, no. It's not, because if somehow variable declarations gets modified here inside of parse. It can't get modified, but it's something I don't want to rely on. We are going to make a copy of it. There. And that should work just as well. All right. One thing we're going to search for here. Uh, so I'm looking for spare spaces at the ends of lines. Okay. We're only going to fix the ones in func test for now. but there's a bunch of other ones that need fixing. So line 52 has spaces at the end of the line, and we are going to get rid of the spaces at the end of the line. We're going to move this over so I can see where all of the problems are. It's got spaces at the end. See, it's got a space there. It shouldn't have a space there. And then 223. It's got a space there. Shouldn't have a space there. 243. Space there. Shouldn't have a space there. 285. Yep, no spaces there. 296. Yep, no spaces there either. Oh my, this is going to be messy. Messy, messy, messy. Yeah, because this has a, here's what we're going to do. Okay. Okay. Because basically, in order to make amend work, we have to, yeah. So there was a small problem that I fixed somewhere. Um, I thought in this code, but apparently not. Oh, yes. There we go. Okay. Now, Oh, I should have exported instead of this. Darn it. That's all right. Um, let's make sure that all the tests succeed again. Doing my mercurial gymnastics so that I can record my change. So it's a different implementation of the same thing. Make this a secret change. So we mark this one as secret. Um, that means it won't get exported. It knows that this one is not secret. Um, there. Hey. Oh, that's the problem. There we go. Hey. Oh, whoops. There. Now let's see here. Da, 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 da. I don't know how to get it to show that it should also pay attention to the secret change sets, but that's okay. Um, so the effect of marking something as secret in Mercurial is that it won't actually push it to another repository at all. It acts like this one is private to just this repository forever. I have to mark it as something higher than secret before it will attempt to push it. And if I go to, right, I go to master here, and then I go HD phase, it will say this one is, it should say it's public. I don't know why it doesn't say it's public, but it should say it's public. Anyway, that's how phases are supposed to work. Once you push the phase to, or once you push it to a, uh, no, I haven't done anything funny with phases here. I don't know what's going on. I don't want to research it right now. Why pushing to GitHub here doesn't cause the phase to advance to public, because it should cause the phase to advance to public. Um, it might be that for some reason or other, HG-Git, the interface between Mercurial and Git, isn't saying that the Git repository is a public, because you can actually mark remote Mercurial repositories as not being public repositories, and then when you push to them, it won't automatically advance the phase from draft to public. And so that's probably where the wire is getting crossed here. But that's how the phases are supposed to work. When you push something somewhere, it sets the phase to public. And a bunch of commands that will refuse to work on things whose phase is public, like strip, for example. The HD strip command will not work on public uh, on on change sets that are marked public or any of their ancestors, because those are assumed, like it's assumed if you strip them, then you're kind of creating you're invalidating a bunch of change sets that are in the remote repository, and that's going to cause a whole lot of people a lot of problems. And if that's the public, if it's another repository of yours and you kind of marked it as not advancing the phase, that's just fine, because it's up to you then to know that that's happened and to go modify the other repositories and stuff. But a public repository is assumed that all kinds of people might be grabbing stuff from the public repository and making their own copies. And so, yeah. Anyway, I like the Mercurial phase system. I think it's kind of a nifty idea. But um, for some reason or other, uh, pushing through HG-Git is not updating the phase. And that's okay. I can actually manually update the phase. Oh, There's a way to set the phase. Oh, that's what I do. There. Now it thinks this one is public. Now if I try to do htstrip on it or something, htstrip will complain. It should anyway. We'll test that. Oh, nope. It works just fine. Interesting. Well, there are things that won't work when the phase is set to public. Strip, sadly, is not among them. It should fail on anything where the phase is marked public, but apparently it doesn't. I consider that to be a bit of a bug in Mercurial right now, but I don't know. Maybe it's not. I'd have to talk to the Mercurial people to be sure that it was a bug. Anyway, now it knows it's public. Oh, all right then. I think that does it for this evening. Uh, I now have a bunch of tests that test things. I fixed a bug that the tests uncovered. There's a different kind of bug that is more of a design flaw than it is a bug. This mutual recursion case should, well, I should be able to make it work. But what I'm going to have to do there is I'm going to have to add a different syntax for def, where if there's a semicolon there, the body is not immediately apparent. Um, One of the problems then is once you have a yeah, there's going to have to be some kind of thing that goes through and looks through all the functions when it gets to the end of the thing to make sure that they were all eventually defined. Because if that's not the case, then something's wrong. Anyway. Um, but a way to forward declare a function is what I need. A way to say, hey, there's an is odd. So then is even can call it. And then later on, I can declare actually is odd. And when it declares, the only thing it demands is that it matches the original. But we'll get to that later. Um, that's a much more complicated change and reflects an actual. I would have to implement grammar changes and all kinds of things. It's a much more significant change than the checking the arity, and it's not exactly so much as a bug in the implementation of functions as they were specified, but a bug in the specification itself that I didn't think of soon enough. So um, it's going to be maybe the next thing I do, implement mutually recursive function calls or forward declarations of functions. Um, as it is, good night all. Um, and I hope you all have a marvelous evening.